at DojoLIVE, and today is October the 7th. And we're going to be having a conversation with Stephen Epstein, the CEO of Tax Credit Experts. Stephen, welcome to the show. And yeah, it's our pleasure, Stephen. We look forward to the topic, and I'm sure that a lot of companies are going to be interested in what you have to say about this. Everything that has to do with cash, it's always of interest to a lot of people. Okay, so Stephen, welcome to the show. And before we go into the topic, Stephen, tell us a little bit about you. Who is Stephen Epstein? And for us and the audience, please. Thank you.
Sure. I'm an entrepreneur, probably much like a lot of the people listening. I've had my share of ups and downs, successes and failures, and started basically my entrepreneurial career in 2007, late 7, early 2008, right in time for the financial crisis. Got my business going. I had a publishing and training company that took off essentially. I had a successful career in real estate finance prior to that. So started my career in real estate from 03, 04 until about 08. And my background was in finance, and graduated from USC. So I was a California boy, and then ended up moving to Nashville in 2012. But basically since sort of 2008, I've been on my own making, bootstrapping companies of various different kinds, from publishing to training to a construction company to now doing work in healthcare and tax credit recovery. So I've had a long kind of varied entrepreneurial career, but very much doing kind of bootstrap startups. Not that much in the tech world, but what's great is that what we're doing now with this tax credit expert stuff really does play very well into manufacturing companies and technology companies. And so, my wife runs a real estate development company in Nashville. Again, I said we have a construction company, we have a granite and stone business, I have a healthcare company and a publishing and training company. So varied entrepreneur with quite a sort of varied background in just different industries.
Great, excellent. Yeah, it seems that you are indeed entrepreneurial, so congratulations on that. And hey, Kim, it's good to see you.
So here we are at DojoLIVE, uncut and raw. I'm coming in as support. Clearly not camera ready, but that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, not all of us are camera ready these days. Kim, no worries. So Kim, thank you for joining us. Kim Lantis, she's one of my teammates and co-hosts. And Stephen, this is what I was telling you about, is like, oh, what's going on, So I appreciate, Kim, you're jumping in.
Nice to meet you, Kim.
Likewise. Thank you for being here today, Stephen.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's a great to have you here, Kim. So, Kim, we're just getting into the conversation. Stephen was telling us a little bit about his career, his entrepreneurial background, which is very interesting. And then, of course, I was just about to ask Stephen about Tax Credit Expert, which is his company, right? So, Stephen, why don't you go ahead and tell us about the company itself, please? Thank you.
Sure. So I stumbled across tax credits for my business as an entrepreneur, and I was so impressed and kind of surprised by what was available to me as an entrepreneur, and I just felt like people ought to know about this. So the main thing is that we have a construction and real estate development company and so forth. And, we found tax credits that were several $100,000. And so I asked some of my friends, I was like, hey, have you guys heard of this thing before? And, the more people I talked to, the sort of the fewer people I realized actually knew about this thing. And so what I did is I started telling my friends and family about it, and acquaintances and people I'd come across in business deals with. And many of them hadn't heard anything about research and development tax credits and other various tax credits that are out there. So we decided we need to set up a company that helps companies figure this out, because, you know, people just don't know about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much, Stephen. Kim,
it reminds me of back in my college days when they encourage you to apply for scholarships, right? A multitude of scholarships that are everywhere that go unused, right, year after year. And I imagine that that's something similar.
Totally. Like there's supposed to be only 75,000 companies a year claiming these types of tax credits, and over 400,000 companies are presumed to be eligible. So that means, you know, less than 20% of the companies out there are actually taking advantage of this. It means there's an 80% chance you're eligible and don't know it, right? If you're in the software business, creating proprietary software, you know, doing user interface testing, or just manipulating code in really any customized fashion, there's a really good chance, if your employees are based here in the United States. So if you're offshoring or nearshoring some of these things, then unfortunately these tax benefits aren't as open to you. But you'd be surprised, and maybe not surprised, given that you guys have such a strong technology background, that how many people are doing a lot of really high value work here in the United States. You know, project management, coding, testing, you know, all this, a lot of development work does happen, as you know, in the United States. So.
Yeah, certainly. So let's talk about what you chose for today's show. The title for the show, the tagline, is Using Tax Credits to Fuel Growth, the Most Overlooked Source of Funding, which we've already talked about a bit. Yeah. And answering the question of, can your firm recover cash from the state and federal government to help you grow and scale faster? So I think the question is maybe that most of our viewers are asking are, which firms, who is eligible, and am I, or at the very least, where can I go to find out if I am?
Yeah, so our firm offers a free consultation. It takes 15 minutes, and we walk through, you know, step by step to kind of determine if someone's eligible. And so if you go to taxcreditexpertsingular.com, taxcreditexpert.com, you know, I'd be happy to talk to you and kind of go through your specific situation. But basically, if you're a manufacturing company, which probably not most of your listeners are, but maybe a few, and you use software, you use various engineering, you know, you're testing the layout of equipment, you're testing different blades and saws. We utilize this credit because we have a granite and stone fabrication company. And so we were testing different saws, we were testing different pieces of equipment, we were testing different materials. And we've been doing this for years, but we didn't know that those testing activities actually qualified us for a credit. And then once we found out that, oh, the activities we're already doing make us eligible for these credits, of course we're going to apply and claim for those credits, right? So, but basically, you know, if your company is doing, like, let's say less than $5 million in revenue, and you're less than 5 years old, and you're employing people on a W-2 or 1099 contracting basis, you know, there's some portion of what you're spending in payroll tax could be recovered through this credit. So, or even if it's a 1099, if you're employing local 1099 contractors, the idea is that some of that money could be recovered. So that's pretty exciting, because there's so many startups that aren't profitable, right? They're not actually making money. So like, oh, I can't use the tax credits because I'm not paying any tax, because we're just reinvesting all our money back in the business. But the reality is they are paying payroll tax, right? If they're employing people, they're definitely paying payroll tax. So being able to get back, you know, $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, even up to like $1 million back for somebody in money that they've spent in payroll tax in the last 2 or 3 years. So you can only go back a couple of years. So, you know, we can go back, and you can claim it every year in the future if you're eligible for it, and you continue to be eligible for it. So it's a really exciting program, and it's really great for tech startups that are just spending very heavily in developing their software, in improving their, you know, their code, or investing in their platform, or, you know, just making any kind of substantial investment in their technology.
Stephen, I got a question. You're walking us through the process of the concept of the company, which is to say the least. It's quite unique, and I'm sure that a lot of companies out there can benefit from what you have to offer. But in addition to that, and I'm not steering the conversation in a different direction. It's just like another part of it from my standpoint. It's like you obviously spotted an opportunity to get into this line of business. So my question is, for those who are thinking about such like yourself becoming entrepreneurs, what would you say that are the, let's call them the ideal traits or personality traits that we need to foster in order to be able to easily spot opportunities? How can folks who want to become entrepreneurs spot opportunities just like you did with tax credit experts? What does it take to become an entrepreneur and find these types of opportunities out there?
I think it's just being in the business, in the marketplace, and then stumbling upon something and realizing and recognizing a need. In my experience, when you sit in a room by yourself and you come up with an idea, and then you say, wow, I love this idea, I want to go out and implement it, it has a much less likely chance of being successful, right? So as opposed to, hey, I've been in the healthcare space for 10 years and I noticed that there's this problem and I've ran into it myself, and my friends who are also in healthcare have also run into this problem. And man, if somebody could just put a software tool together that would solve this, and this issue, wow, wouldn't that be great, right? That's a much stronger place to start from, I think, than just like a lot of people, just they watch Shark Tank and they get lots of ideas and then they want to like invent something. And I think that's a very dangerous danger. I mean, the show is very entertaining, right? But it kind of gives people the wrong idea. Like you need to be a mad scientist, inventor to be successful. And the reality is you just need to solve a problem for somebody or provide a service that's needed and isn't being provided at a good price or a good value. I mean, if you're going to go out and do something that someone else is already doing very, very well, that's probably not a great business idea either, because it's like, well, what are you going to do? You're going to compete on the basis of price? You're going to come up with something that's better. Is it going to be better enough to make it something that is going to be differentiated enough so that somebody's going to care and want to go through the brain damage of switching? I mean, you'd be shocked how difficult it is to sell people tax credits. I mean, we talk to people and they're like, oh yeah, I can recover $100,000 for my business. And we say, yeah, we've run the numbers. We can find a bunch of money for you guys. You're doing software engineering and development and you've spent this much money on it in the last 5 years or 3 years, and we're going to help you claim this many dollars. People get busy. They're trying to do a million things. Everyone's running around. I mean, even giving away free money is hard, right? There's even a sales process to like, I thought, and again, any entrepreneur is every subsequent business, they always think it's going to somehow be easier, right? Like, oh, it's not going to be that hard next time. But it's always just as hard the next time as it was the previous time. So, but you're smarter, right? You get good experience and you don't make the same mistakes over and over again, hopefully. But I guess my point is that you got to solve a problem, and you got to also realize that even if what you have is amazing, there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to get people's attention, because everybody's busy and they've got a million things going on. And unless you're really solving an important problem in society or in business, it's hard to get people's attention.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Going back to giving away free money is hard. I have to say, I hate paperwork. There's no rhyme or reason to this, and I have no explanation, and I don't know why it bothers me. Yeah, but I don't even know why it bothers me so much. But applications in particular are like the worst, and it's really odd because I consider myself a very detail-oriented person. Like, I enjoy capturing data, I enjoy editing and writing, but when it comes to like my name, my this, my that, it drives me absolutely crazy. So how difficult is this process? Like, how much of a deterrent is that for people? Where do you come in with your company to help bridge that gap? I mean, at what point do I have to, what quantities of money are we talking about, right? I mean, for $1 million, $100,000 of tax credit, like, okay, I can get over my hate of applications and paperwork, but what's this process like? How streamlined, easy, or bureaucratic is it?
Sure. Well, I would say that that's kind of why the company that we built exists, because we want to make it super easy for people. But it's really simple. It's like payroll reports for the last couple of years, broken out by employee. It's your tax returns for the last couple of years, and then it's just having a very casual discussion, just like what we're having about. Hey, how much time is this person spending doing this? How much time is this person spending doing that? How much time is this person spending doing this? And so the whole purpose is, it's not a lot of paperwork for you guys at all. We work with the CPAs. We work with, we prepare a very thorough substantiation package, because if you're going to claim tax credits, you better have done your homework and made sure that you can justify it, right? So part of what we do is we give them like a folder, a package that documents everything. So in case you're ever audited by the IRS, or there's ever any question as to how the tax calculations were calculated. So we actually do all that, right? And then, so I would say, just to answer your question, let's say you spend $1 million a year on payroll or you've invested $1 million of sort of 1099 and W-2 payroll to get your software platform built. Well, you may be eligible for, like, let's say $100,000 of credit on that. So somewhere between 7 and 14% is the sort of credit amount based on the amount of payroll that was spent. So it kind of gives you an idea and you really have to be spending at least sort of $200,000 or $300,000 a year on some sort of payroll or compensation to make it worth the time and brain damage to go through the process. But you could imagine, like, if you're going to be able to, get 20 or 30 grand back in sort of different state credits or federal credits, that's worth your time to spend a couple hours. So I would say it's probably 4 to 5 hours worth of your time just answering questions. But we're not making our clients fill out paperwork. That would be impossible.
Very good. If we could go backward to the genesis of this, why did these tax credits exist in the first place? What is the history there? What's the purpose and the motivation for their existence? And beyond getting some money back, what am I ideally supposed to be doing with it?
Answer your question, because it's a little bit bright. So the motivation, it actually started back in the 80s. And the motivation was to try to make America more competitive against Japan at the time. And the idea was, we need to incentivize research and development. We need to incentivize people to, invest in developing infrastructure and manufacturing at the time. And then later, as software grew and became this monstrous industry that it is today, the tax code was extended to include things that were engineering related, and software is software engineering, right? So it's a hard science, and there's technical uncertainty. There's a lot of risk that you're taking when you go out to try to build something. You don't know how many hours it's going to take. You don't know how much time it's going to take. You don't know how much testing or coding it's going to take. So it was developed back in the 80s, and then it's been part of the tax code on and off since then. And again, I'm not a CPA. I don't give tax advice, but we work with CPAs to help kind of bring this to entrepreneurs and business owners, because you got to have a bridge between the CPAs and the tax credit experts, because your CPA, Kim, regardless, is not a tax credit expert. They don't know what the grants are, the programs are that are out there. They're busy putting together tax returns and helping you prepare financial statements for your business. So, it's just, So it's a really fun thing, because finding free money, it's like striking gold. You're like digging for gold in your business, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't know there was all this money in my business. So it's fun.
So from what I'm hearing, Stephen, this is what I picture. I mean, if you were mentioning Shark Tank a few minutes ago, I can't imagine that if you ever step into Shark Tank and you talk to them, you're going to walk out of there not with investors, but with clients. Or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what I envision.
No, totally. And startups are great because they do spend so much money in development, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like trying to come up with a product, trying to come up with a different way of doing things. And a lot of times there's a lot of testing that goes into that. A lot of iteration on, okay, we did this first prototype, it didn't work. Now we got to do a different thing, or, oh no, that doesn't work. Clients don't like that. We have to go back to the drawing board and reconstruct this. Well, the government is there stepping in saying, we want people to innovate. We want this to be a permanent part of what makes America competitive. So back to your question earlier, Kim, is like, when did this come in? So this actually went into permanent tax law in 2015. So it's kind of been on and off since the 80s, but now it's like pretty permanent. So you don't have to worry about it really going away or anything.
That's great.
Yeah.
The only thing that came to my mind when you mentioned 80s was Back to the Future. He's like, it's Japanese. No wonder why it's junk. He's like, what? All the best stuff's made in Japan. Yeah, hilarious. Like when there was really the competitive boom.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about how do you and your company go about discovering, like sharking in a different way, right? You're looking to find these credits and how companies, what's your process of knowing what's available out there?
So far it's been a pretty casual thing. We've done like a little bit of outreach on LinkedIn, and we approach people and we say, hey, it looks like you have a software company, or you do this, and this, and you might be eligible. So, and then people reach out and they're like, oh, I haven't heard about this credits before, or yeah, I have heard about it, but tell me a little bit more about it. And then we just spend like 15 minutes together, kind of going through their numbers, going through their business a little bit, kind of determining their eligibility. And it's a pretty simple process. Like in about 10 minutes, I can tell you, Kim, like if your company is going to qualify or not. Generally, it'll take obviously more work if it looks like it does, but I could disqualify you pretty quickly based on, where are your employees located? How much are you spending? What types of activities are you doing? Are you using off-the-shelf software or proprietary software? So it's not that difficult to determine. And then once we've determined that you qualify, then we have a simple engagement letter. We don't get paid unless we can recover money for you, which is awesome. So you're not like doing something and not necessarily being able to deliver on it, right? So again, we have a form on our website, Tax Credit Expert, which is singular.com, taxcreditexpert.com. People can schedule a 15-minute free consultation and just find out if their business is eligible. But generally speaking, if you're spending over $250,000 a year on payroll and you're either not profitable and less than 5 years old, right? And less than $5 million in revenue, or you're older than 5 years old and you're profitable, then you would work, your company would work. So sometimes there's companies that are super, super profitable that love getting the tax credit because then they can save money on how much they pay in tax. So.
Hey, Kim, you might agree with me that we should have brought Ana Luisa to the conversation.
Yeah, I'm like,
yeah.
I just pay my taxes. Like I said, I'm not an application form girl. So going back, before we wrap up today, to be clear, this is not limited to technology companies only. There's a variety of verticals involved.
Yeah, like if you do manufacturing, anything that involves the hard sciences, so it has to be engineering related. So if you're an engineering or architecture firm, or you're a software company doing software engineering, or you're a mechanical engineering firm, or you're doing manufacturing where you're testing different products and services and trying to streamline your manufacturing processes, but it can't be like just a business service or
right.
General service companies. It has to have like the hard sciences.
Sure. And you mentioned employing in the United States. Is it 100% employment in the United States, or can there be a percentage?
It's whatever the share of the people. So if you have, let's say, 5 people that are US based and 100 people who are offshore, you could still get the credit for people who are here. You just wouldn't get the credit for the people that aren't here. So you don't have to be 100% like made in the USA or something.
Mm-hmm. And that's great because it still opens up a variety of other benefits, right? That you can reap elsewhere.
Sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Stephen, as we're coming up on time, and as we're about to wrap up, final words of wisdom for the audience. If I were to ask you, what would you like to leave our audiences with? What would you like you like to tell them?
I guess just that there are government programs out there, and I think people are getting a little more confident about that these days because of like the fact that we got PPP money from the government because of COVID, and that the SBA was doing a lot of really inexpensive loans. And so people are kind of waking up to the idea that they're actually like, yes, the government does tax you like crazy. And yes, they do, there's a lot of red tape out there, but there's actually also some good programs that can help you be successful and help you grow and help you finance whatever next round of, creativity and innovation that you want to do, or growth, hiring people, marketing, whatever. So I would say don't be like so cynical in life that you don't think that there's good programs out there, because it's easy to kind of get cynical after a while, right?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having been with us today. Stephen, if someone from the audience who's watching wants to get a hold of you, or wants to know more about the company, how should they reach out to you?
Yeah, just go on taxcreditexpert.com. That's tax credit expert, not expert. Right, yeah.
There you go.
Taxcreditexpert.com. And we've got tons of videos about how this all works, and an FAQ page. It's got lots of great materials. So if you think you're eligible, schedule a time. You and I can jump on the phone together, or someone else from our team, and we'd be delighted to help you. We love helping business owners find free money. It's just so fun. So
excellent. Well, I think that's, as we're about to wrap up today. Kim, do you have anything else for Stephen today?
I don't. Thank you so much for your time today, Stephen. It was a pleasure to get to know you and to get to know what you do and how you're benefiting businesses. I love that. So congratulations on taking your risk and becoming, the person who steps out and says, I'm going to do something new. Congratulations.
Appreciate it, Kim, and thanks for the great show that you guys are doing and continue to do. So it's awesome.
Thank you. Before we
What's
go,
coming up this rest of the week, Carlos?
Yeah, exactly. I was just gonna get into that, Kim. And please, Stephen, as we wrap up, please stay with us, and then we're gonna be with you in a minute, because we need to introduce what we have, still in the rest of the week. Tomorrow, by the way, is going to be the last show of the week, and we're going to be speaking with, let's see who we have. We have Luca Emili, the CEO of Ensilico Trails, which is a health technology company. And the topic is going to be Accelerate Drugs and Medical Devices Development, the Digital Revolution. So I look forward to that one as well. And of course, on Monday, the next Monday of the next week, we're going to be recapping this show with Stephen, and also the two others that we had on Tuesday and Wednesday. So please, folks, and if you want to be part of that show, just reach out to us through any of our social media venues, and we'll be more than happy to invite you to the show as a guest. And again, it's a 10-minute recap. It goes by like this, but it's very enlightening in case you missed this week's shows. With that being said, Kim, thank you so much for having joined us today. Thanks to our guest, Stephen Epstein, for having been with us today as well. And until next time, next week, right here on Dojo Live, folks. Stay safe.
Appreciate it, guys.